It's Divas That Care Radio. Stories, strategies, and ideas to inspire positive change. Welcome to Divas That Care, a network of women committed to making our world a better place for everyone. This is a global movement for women, by women, engaged in a collaborative effort to create a better world for future generations. To find out more about the movement, visit divasthatcare.com after the show. Right now, though, stay tuned for another jolt of inspiration.
All right. Well, welcome to another edition of our Heart Driven Hustle podcast. I am your host, Candace Smiley, and I'm super stoked to be coming to you today. Those of you that follow me on the regular know that normally I have a particular backdrop in behind me, and today I'm actually coming to you from the Spark Center in Sherwood Park, Alberta, and I've got Glenn Ronald's art up here today, which I'm just super stoked about. So changing it up. But before we get too far into today, I want to say a big, huge thank you to the Divas That Care. They're the network, the host that lets us do this podcast. And I am super excited because Dr. Sarah, my guest today, actually came through that network. So it's really neat to see how the community is growing and expanding. And to be honest, Dr. Sarah, I meet the coolest people doing this kind of thing. I have always wanted to do an interview like this and just really sit and get candid with people in bite-sized chunks. And what I've found in doing these on the weekly, and for someone who's watching or listening and they want to be interviewed, because so many people have a story, right? We all have a story, or we have an idea or a concept, or sometimes a thought that we just want to discuss. And that's really the intention of why I come, is to create these platforms. I have a background in event planning, and that's why I started in event planning, was to create platforms. And of course, the world situation has kind of driven us all online, which, you know, for some of us has actually opened up the world. At least it has been for me. So I'm so grateful that you and I get to spend some time together today. For our guests listening in, I had a chance to read through the questionnaire, and I'm stoked because Dr. Sarah is a champion of causes that are near and dear to my heart. So, Dr. Sarah, I would love it if you just sort of share who you are, what you're about. I'll kind of give you the floor for a minute and let you kind of start at this conversation. I'm going to got a couple questions for you.
Absolutely. And kudos to Divas That Care Network for allowing this platform. And it's an awesome opportunity, just like you said, for those of us to connect. Because you are in Alberta, Canada. I'm in Chesapeake, Virginia, but I just feel like we're girlfriends that never.
Yeah, and that's what's fun for our listeners who maybe never joined us before. We always start. I get a little chit chat going, and it's fun because I've never met most of my guests, and we hop on here and we just start this. I'm like, oh, I should hit record because we're getting into the good stuff. So so go ahead, girlfriend.
It just feels like all those friends that you were supposed to have in high school, that you were supposed to have in college, and you kind of got robbed of that opportunity. And so now you're graciously having that restored in your life. And that's what's so important. And for me, I am a licensed and board certified mental health therapist. I provide clinical services. I own a private practice here in Chesapeake, Virginia, that actually specializes in offering services to women. Women that are experiencing trauma, that are experiencing stress, that are having a difficult time managing multiple roles. Covenant Way Wellness is my holistic subsidiary of Covenant Way Clinical Counseling, and I'm able to offer a holistic approach. And we integrated yoga, we integrate mindfulness, we integrate meditation, because at this point in COVID-19, we are all adjusting to the new normal. And how that came to be is I actually am a professor turned therapist. Most people don't know that. I did not originate as a therapist. Since I was a young child, I wanted to be a college professor. In third and fourth grade, people would say, what do you want to be? I want to teach college. I don't know where it came from, but it always had been a vision of mine. So I earned my PhD, and I had finished and graduated in 2010 after long years and years and years of study. And I've been teaching at a community college and at the local university. And I pretty much had that plan in life. And I had tragedy hit me. I had trauma after trauma after trauma. I was a victim of sexual assault and, actually it was harassment that would have escalated to assault had I not removed myself from that situation. So let's clarify that. It was not a defined assault legally. That was traumatic for me. And then trying to adjust to that, and I got a call that my mother was sick, and I lost her to pancreatic cancer. And once I kind of tried to resume myself and get a normalcy again, I got a call from my husband from work, and he got his results back, and his cancer had returned, and this time it was terminal. And all that happened within a 2 or 3 year time span. And I literally was knocked off of my balance beam. I did not know how to progress, because having a PhD, I'm supposed to have all the tools. I'm supposed to know what to do. Mm-hmm. And as I knew that I needed therapy, I knew I needed a grief counselor. I knew that I needed someone to help me address my trauma, and not just the trauma from what I experienced as an adult, but just as a child growing up and being a vicarious victim to so much in my life. I knew that it was time for me to seek professional help. Mm-hmm. And here I would sit on a couch in a therapist's office, and 2, 3 different therapists did not know what to do with me just because I was sitting there and I had a PhD and I was considered a high functioning client. And I was shocked, because having a doctorate did not insulate me from the human experience. Mm-hmm. Of grief, of trauma, of loss, anxiety, depression. I was ashamed. I felt like something was wrong with me because I had already attained all this educational status. Why am I not able to cope and handle this? And the system actually interfered with my ability to progress in my healing. So what I decided to do was to take that experience and use it to go back to school. I took a hiatus from work. I went back to school, postdoctorate, and earned the credentials to become a licensed therapist. And right out of the bat, I did not work for another company. I had other offers. I decided to open my own practice right away, and I did that with the thought in mind that this is the one place, probably maybe on the planet, who knows, that has a place for women like me that can come, that if you have a GED or you have a Juris Doctorate, you are going to find a place and you're going to find the right healing. Once I opened my practice and the doors opened, and I was presented with an opportunity to create and host a mental health awareness TV show. And Dr. Sarah After Dark was born. And it is basically a forum for individuals to come onto the TV show and talk about their experience with trauma. A lot of times these are known individuals that you would not realize had experienced something as stressing as they have, and they get to share their story and offer hope to others. Mm-hmm. And that's how I ended up on this platform with Divas That Care, because it's just another extension of all the things that I hope to do in terms of reaching as many audiences as possible and help women that are stressed out, that are overwhelmed, that are depressed, that are anxious, or maybe suffering from a mental health challenge. Mm-hmm. And I'm so glad and proud to be here to share that with you.
Wow. I think our listeners are going to see that now. I was excited to host this with you today, and now I'm definitely honored to be sharing space with you after hearing your story. There's a quote, I don't remember who said it, but they say that if one woman would tell the truth about her life, the world would split open. And I remember hearing that for the first time and thinking that's so true, because we live in a world where we're just bombarded, right, with what we could be and what we should be. And I mean, so many of us, myself included, can barely scroll Instagram, right, without a constant reminder of how we're not measuring up. And that plays into those things like overwhelm and anxiety and everything else. And then you throw in everything else that we don't talk about. I am struck by the fact that you're looking for the right therapist. And I can remember instances in my own life where it was challenging because, you've gone looking for that person, and how do you find that person? Now this TV show, phenomenal. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I admire your courage to go out and be willing to put yourself out there, right? Because there is so much stigma and shame around some of these things when you say, I don't have it all together, right? When someone says, you look like you're happy poop in a group. And I'm like, I'm glad you think so. Because, you know, mama's just treading water some days, right?
We know how to put it on and put that plastic smile on and keep it moving. And it's not always what people see.
No, and I don't think we're serving, I mean, we're certainly not serving ourselves, and we're certainly not serving, you know, women in our communities or kids or families when we are not authentic or transparent, you know, about what's really going on. So then I guess talk to me, because I know you've already got platforms where you're sharing this message, and I'm sensing that the people who are listening in today probably really want to hear from you. So if there's a message you love to deliver, what is that? And can we share maybe bits and pieces of that here today?
Yes, the message that I want to deliver, that I'm offering essentially a message of hope to anybody that is struggling or suffering. You're not alone. You're not different from the next person. That we all have suffering and grief and stress and trauma in our lives. It is part of the human experience. The best thing that you can do is lend light to your struggle. When you talk about and you voice it, when you share it, you end the darkness. That's pretty much where Dr. Sarah After Dark came from. It's about how my experience, this is me after the darkness, not saying that I have it all together, that it's all solved now and everything's great. No, it means that I can actually move forward as a therapist, as a professional, as a media personality and a public figure, and admit that I still struggle. I still wake up in the morning and have these struggles, and I still keep going, that I can still inspire somebody else. I still have that capability. So let's lend light to the struggle. Let's not hide in the darkness.
That is stunning. That's absolutely stunning. I had seen what you called it, and I was curious about After the Dark. And I think, so, you know, I wouldn't want to relate, you know, some of the struggles I've been through, but I was also dealt with, you know, sexual assault and some of those things. And some of those moments become defining moments in your life. And moving through them and then realizing that there's life on the other side, or losing someone you love, or having circumstances change. I mean, COVID showed us that, right? Anything.
Yes.
I don't know about you, but I woke up January 1st, 2020, and I had a plan for the year.
I had all these plans.
Like,
Canada being one of them.
Right? Like, okay.
I got to Canada all right.
Yeah. It's
virtually.
You got to Canada virtually. Hello. You know, yeah. And I think that's one thing that, you know, COVID taught us, and certainly elements of that. I mean, a lot of us, I've had the pleasure of connecting through this. Interestingly enough,
right.
At time of social distancing, I have found myself more authentically connected, especially with women, than I ever have. And I think it's because some of that rat race stopped, at least for me. And all of a sudden I had time, and I was like, oh, I have time to call a friend and be like, how are you? Right. And that's been probably one of the biggest blessings. We've all had to learn to pivot, make some adjustments. I know for many of us, that's had an impact on personal relationships, careers, plans, hopes, graduations, like you name it. This has been a year where I think a lot of us had to look in the mirror and go, okay, anything inauthentic is definitely falling away. And it was harder and harder to hide some of these things we don't want to necessarily deal with, because in the busyness, because things stopped, right?
Yes. We are allowed to sit and savor the relationships that we do have, and nurture those that are close to us. And it also lended so much transparency and visibility to maybe relationships that I didn't need to have. That our lives
said so brilliantly.
Yes, our lives were so crowded with so much, and we were moving at this rate and this speed, and it was basically like a drive-through relationships, drive-through social interactions, and it's your calendars are packed, and you've got all these people that you're seeing and talking to, and now you realize, you know, that really wasn't that important, that these are the significant folks that I need to spend the time with. And I think that was the biggest lesson, that within this moment of solitude, that initially I was like, oh my God, the loneliness is going to kill me. What am I going to do? I'm a widowed parent. I'm here with 2 kids. Now, what am I going to do? I can't go anywhere, anything. And over time, I have appreciated this quiet, just quiet.
I had made a post that I felt like the powers that be, the universe, had said basically, sit, heal.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, it's time. And I don't know, if our listeners can relate, to any of this, but for me, I had been saying for a number of years, when I can find time, I'm going to sit and deal with some of this healing. When I have time, I'll sit and I'll really look at some of these things in my life. And right. And I think that's something we mean to do, but we get busy and there are bills to pay. I'm a single mom, well supported. I have to, say that, but there's an element of life that really presses in. And like you say, this really created space to sit in solitude. And there have been some magic moments, for sure, for me, that have come out of that. Some incredibly painful ones, and I think for a lot of people, that's been the truth. This is typically the part of the podcast where I, look at my guests and say, there might be a message on your heart for someone in particular today, that this would be a great time for you to share that.
I think the message that I want to share has more to do with a person that I grew up with, and I lost contact with her. And we knew each other. She was 3, I was 5. And our parents were close. And I received word last night that she had lost her grandmother. And I look back on all our lives, and we tend to, for some reason, to only connect at the time of a funeral. And I just wanted to send a special message to Leah and let her know that I have always loved her like a little sister. I still do. And even though she's going through some grief right now, I have vowed to not let the time go by anymore. I missed her dearly, and I look forward to us reconnecting.
Wow. That's a really powerful message, Dr. Sarah. And I'm thinking myself, right, that there are people that, you connect at the family reunion, you connect at the wedding, you connect at the funeral, and then you say, we'll connect again. And then weeks go by, or months go by, and years go by, and then all of a sudden, right, then there you are. And people say, well, what's new? And I think, new today. you know,
there's so much. The kids twins are 15 now. When you saw them, they were 2.
There's some years
so
there.
much.
Yeah.
It is. And we took very different paths in life, but that doesn't mean anything.
No.
I still love her like she was a little sister to me.
And that's this one's hitting home for me, Dr. Sarah. Thank you for showing up so transparently. I think the biggest blessing for me in doing this podcast, started it to share stories. And I find that I'm usually the one that sits there and go, okay, I don't know about anybody else, but I got I got so much value out of showing up today. And so I know that there's going to be some women that want to connect and see your show and that sort of thing. Obviously, we're going to make sure that we have all of your links and that sort of thing to connect in the box below, so you guys can scroll down, check that out. I'm guessing you probably got a website and stuff like that. Where's the best place for people if they are wanting to connect with you, for them to find you?
Well, my website is simple. It's IamDrSarahWilliams.com. And that's Sarah with an H, Williams with an S. And that's my website. And of course, I'm on Instagram, like the rest of the planet. It's Dr. Sarah, DrSarah.w. That's my Instagram handle. And if anyone would like to connect to me that way, I am easily to be found that way by Instagram or email, which is IamDrSarahTV@gmail.
Perfect. Well, I really appreciate all of that. Of course, if there's anything else you'd love to add as we wrap this up, I like to keep these short and sweet so people keep coming back for more. But I'm thinking we're going to have to do an encore of this because this was exciting, and I'd love to see what you've got coming up as we move out and through COVID.
Yes, I would love to come back again. And to all those that are listening, please remember that we all are in this together.
We are. Indeed, we are. And to our listeners, again, thank you for joining us today. This was a special one. Dr. Sarah, thank you so much for holding space with me today.
You're
and
so welcome.
Again, thank you to our Divas That Care host platform. We appreciate this. And I know that Dr. Sarah has done another interview with at least one of our other hosts, correct? So please go and check out the divasthatcare.com, Divas That Care Network. And you can listen in on pretty much anywhere podcasts are hosted. That's where you'll find the network. Go listen, go find it, go follow along. There are tons of these sorts of interviews coming out designed to inspire you, to get you on track, or just remind you that you are not alone. Even though we are not able to see each other, it doesn't mean you can't get to Canada. And it just may not happen the way you planned it to be. So anyway, thank you so much from me to you. And again, thank you, Dr. Sarah. And
you're welcome.
We will talk to you all again soon.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for listening. This show was brought to you by Divas That Care. Connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on divasthatcare.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss a thing.